Welcome back once again to the imaginary the imaginary gallery. Tonight's subject is, let's say it bluntly, the covert narcissist is a bully. Repeat after me. The covert narcissist is a bully. Now, when you think of a bully, what do you think of? Well, I can personally go from junior high and high school experiences, and a bully normally would be, let's just say, some tough kid who walks up to a weak kid, shoves his books out of his hand, threatens him or calls him a name, trips him, knocks him over, and walks away. Well, that would be a bully. However, the key word here that we're dealing with is covert, which I always remembered in college. Covert means like covered, like hidden, and overt would be the opposite. Was, side note, ADHD, ADD. But anyway, I'm going to give you a few examples of how the covert cluster B is the safer label, how these people can actually be bullies. But remember, they're covert, which is going to throw you off because you're used to a bully being someone who is like the one we described a moment ago. And when you're interacting with a cluster B bully, it's a completely different story because it's covert. Well, the first example will be the most obvious because I've probably covered it 1,000 times in other videos. But it explains how these people are actual bullies. Which we know what we think a bully is, but keep in mind there is an undercover type bully, and this is what we're discussing tonight. So, when you're dealing with a person who's new, whether you have a label for them or not, just in general, we can use the cluster B example where you meet someone by chance here or there or some quick circumstance. What will happen many times is the first step is, of course, the idealization. So, and acting like if you sneeze, oh, that was the most beautiful sneeze I've ever seen, or anything ridiculous like that, and they're like completely giving you approval, 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 which in this day and age people like, and they know this. But you're being flattered and approved without really doing much of anything except sneezing. Is with the cluster B personality, you will be taken through fantasy land. You will be dragged into the labyrinth of beauty and perfection, which of course is all fabricated. So the normal course of events, which we've heard in 1,000 different videos, is you're pulled into this. And who doesn't want to be flattered? Who doesn't want to be given compliments? So you're like right there with whoever it is. Well, the deal is the person is usually trying desperately, in my opinion, to infiltrate your life and become like a major part of it. So if you don't see it every day, you'll be getting a text every few hours. You'll be getting a call every few minutes. and you'll be expected to respond. And then if you don't, you'll be controlled. For example, I had this happen where I met somebody, was talking to him or him, and on Facebook, like one morning, I was logging into my workplace, and bing, some message came up, and I saw it. It was like, I'm busy working, so I started doing my work stuff, and then, I saw the message, but it's like, I can't really do that right now. Well, a few minutes later, I get another message saying, well, I guess you're just too busy to respond to blah, blah. And I think, that's a subtle bully behavior, because it's covert, but it's basically trying to control, saying, if I send you a message, you better respond immediately. And I don't follow those kind of rules, but that's just like the beginning red flag stage of noticing that you're dealing with an abusive personality. And if they claim they were abused by somebody else, bonus, they are an abusive person. I've learned that one. Keep that one in mind. And as we've discussed the next steps in other videos, how you may continue to interact with this person, and the person may continue to satisfy your every need, even needs you haven't even stated, but were implied by what he or she saw. And in this beginning stage, you feel like you can do no wrong. So you're like letting your guards down, thinking, wow, I met this pushover who doesn't even care if I cancel a date and wants to fix my car and my windows, and you feel kind of spoiled. Well, you're going to be paid back later when you're dealing with this type of person. And I've learned now at this point, when I find someone like that who's doing all that, I automatically think, okay. Like, even if I say, oh, you didn't have to do that for me, can I pay you for that? The answer is always, no, I'm just a nice person. Well, it's a precursor to the fact that you'll be expected to sign your name in blood and repay whatever they've done threefold. Eventually, you find yourself like getting more and more involved with this person, despite the crimson flags you didn't notice earlier, and you continue the interaction. Well, everything's been great up to this point. You haven't had any arguments, because what do you expect? The person's mirroring you. So if he loves the Dallas Cowboys and you love the Kansas City Chiefs, and you say, oh, the Chiefs are so great, well, his real self might be like, oh, they're a piece of trash, the Dallas Cowboys are... But no, it's, oh, really? I agree. So, like, everything is, like, agreed upon. Everything is smooth. Everything is in sync until the day that a discrepancy occurs with the person we're discussing. That's when it all changes. So, you're dating the person all this time. The person's sworn to you over and over it would never do specific things, and then you discover that he or she has actually done those specific things on several occasions. Well, now we're in a new realm, because that hasn't happened before. But remember, you've been brainwashed. You've been conditioned to think that this person has your every interest in mind. This is where the cognitive dissonance begins to set in. Because up to this point, any wish you had So I won't be going into too much detail as far as specific examples go, because those are littered throughout my entire video catalog. But just in general, remember, we're talking about this covert bully, but you'd never suspect this at this point. Because what? All of the generosity, all of the overdone giving, all of the gifts, all of the attention, all of the text messages day and throughout the day, and if you don't respond right away, you get a fake pity play victim. I guess you're too busy for me. So you're like conditioned to like talk day, all night, all afternoon if you can't see each other. Well, the point or the problem is discrepancies occur where the person has claimed, like we mentioned earlier, and then you discover that the very thing that it doesn't ever do has been done a million times. Well, that is when you cross over and you start to see the covert bully for what it is. Because we've already covered in other videos how if you have a personality that consists of A, B, C, and D, well, you've got a personality that consists of A, B, C, and D. Well, these covert narcissistic bullies, predators, will be mirroring your value system, which let's just say that you have something really against murder. And they'll be like, oh, I would never murder either. Well, then you find out when you go to the basement of his or her house, you find 10 murdered dead bodies. You're going to be like, what's this? And when you approach this covert bully and say, why do you have 10 dead bodies in your basement? You're a killer! That's when you start to become bullied, but not in the traditional punch-punch way. It's, how dare you accuse me of being a murderer? Those 10 dead bodies are only under there in my basement because they tried to kill me, and I had to fight back, or something like that. But the point is, they've murdered 10 people, and you are saying, hey, you said you don't murder, and this is where the subtle, covert bullying occurs, because they want you to accept the fact that they are not a murderer, and when you're pointing out the facts, like, wait a second, though, you got 10 casualties, that is when they become the bully again, to say, you don't listen to me. I told you why I murdered those. And this is bullying, just in case you don't know. Because I didn't. I went through it like 1,000 times and never once considered that I was being bullied. I just thought this person was headstrong or argumentative. But you've got to realize, if they claim to be a non-murderer and they've got 10 dead bodies they murdered, contradiction cannot be the case. But these fools will try to convince you that, oh yes, they're anti-murder, they never kill, but they did kill 10 people for this reason, but they don't believe in killing, and how dare you call them a murderer? Well, welcome to the Cluster B, and please exit as soon as possible.
Try to make me go free, but I said no, no, no. Yes, I've been bad, and then I come up and go, no, no, no. These are sad times today. This second place we live, we're walking right on through the wrecking yard. There's nothing that we give, we're going. We're we're walking right on through the wrecking yard. Nothing that we gain